The anime starts with our main character, Tomokui Kanata, being brutally attacked by a wild lady who seems to derive pleasure from it. Despite the pain, Kanata remains silent, his lifeless eyes fixated on the moon above. The lady calls out his name, but Kanata is indifferent, as he knows he is already dead. Upon awakening, Kanata finds himself face to face with an old goblin, bewildered by his own existence and the presence of the green creature. The old goblin decides to name them Gokichi and Goburou respectively. Kanata, now Goburou, expresses disappointment at the lack of effort in the naming process. The old goblin then stuffs a bug into Goburou's mouth, prompting a groggy response. The next day, Goburou finds himself surrounded by other goblins, realizing he too has become one of them. The realization of his transformation into a helpless goblin overwhelms him, leading to tears. As days pass, Goburou notices rapid growth in his body, realizing that goblins mature much faster than expected. Determined to survive, he embraces his new life with optimism. On the fourth day, the old goblin gives them some bugs and informs everyone that this will be the last food they'll get from him. He will no longer provide food. Goburou and the goblins enjoy their last free meal. Stepping outside, Goburou takes in the sight of one sun shining in a blue sky, yet it's filled with strange, unsettling birds, and there are unfamiliar plants all around, signaling that this world is unlike anything he's known. Gob-Kichai steps out too and also marvel at the sights around them, both admitting it's their first time seeing the outside world. Taking a moment, Goburou introduces himself and teaches Gob-Kichai his name, forming a bond between them. Their goal, to hunt for food. As they explore, they stumble upon a horned rabbit grazing peacefully. With Gob-Kichai's help, Goburou positions himself strategically, ready to strike. As the rabbit approaches, Goburou swiftly brings it down with a well-aimed blow from his stick. However, their joy is short-lived when Gob-Kichai moves to devour the catch alone. Frustrated, Goburou insists they share, resorting to gentle persuasion with his stick to enforce the lesson of cooperation. Gob-Kichai, not far behind, marvels at the unfamiliar world outside, expressing his awe at its newness. Sharing the same sentiment, on the sixth day, Goburou and Gob-Kichai met Gobmi. She seemed impressed by their hunting skills and ability to eat horned rabbits. Gobmi shared a sad story about someone who was killed by a creature named Goburou. It was quite surprising. Gob-Kichai wanted some praise too, but Gobmi told him he was just average. The leader asked Gobmi if she wanted to join their hunt the next day. She happily agreed and hugged Goburou. However, they couldn't go hunting when the time came because it was raining. So, they postponed the hunt until the following day. Goburou used this indoor time to check what supplies they had. He also tried to make a new weapon. Goburou found some ore and began refining it with a rock. While he worked, he couldn't help but think about the human captives nearby and their unfortunate situation. He tried to push those thoughts aside, and Gob-Kichai helped by starting a conversation and telling him he seemed motivated. The seasoned goblin observes that Goburou might level up faster than anticipated upon a closer look. This is the first time the young one hears about this leveling idea. Gobji educates him about the gestures used to display one's level. Goburou taps his head, and the system notifies him that Gobji is at level 86. The elder reveals that upon reaching level 100, one can evolve into a more advanced being. This achievement is quite rare, as only one out of every dozen goblins manages to accomplish it. Goburou notes mentally that goblins age rapidly, as Gobji, despite being in his 22nd, appears to be on his last legs. The old goblin informs Goburou that the goblins in their prime will return soon. When they do, the newborns will witness what an evolved hobgoblin looks like. However, Gobji is more interested in seeing what kind of prey they will bring this time. It has been 8 days since Goburou's reincarnation. Gobmi joins them on their hunt and hits a monster snake with a slingshot. This provides an opportunity for the boss to take it down. They employ their new tactics to hunt a variety of prey. Gobmi acts as support, while Goburou takes the mid-range position, and Gokichi leads the charge with his formidable power. They successfully skin a snake they hunted, allowing them to savor their catch. Gobmi becomes emotional, expressing her dissatisfaction with only eating fruits like a herbivore. The leader of the group takes a bite of the snake and gains the ability to produce venom, along with resistance to it and other skills. He recognizes the snake as high level due to the new abilities he acquired. Goburou prevents Gokichi from consuming the poisonous head, relying on his resistance. Despite the challenges, Goburou is determined to survive in his second life. On the 9th and 10th days, the trio prepares their gear and embarks on their usual hunting trip. They encounter bats in a cave, initially overwhelming them, but Goburou uses his evil eye to stun them, making it easier to defeat them. During the feast, Goburou gains new abilities like echolocation and vamphilia, impressing their peers who wish for such nutritious food. On the 12th night, jealous goblins attempt to ambush Goburou while he sleeps, but his search ability alerts him, enabling him to fend off the attackers. Unfortunately, one of them succumbs to the venom used by Goburou. Witnessing this, the others back down. Out of frustration, Goburou begins choking one of the defeated goblins, prompting the boss to intervene. On the 13th day, the trio executes a well-coordinated attack, successfully defeating their first orc. After consuming its meat, Goburou gains the ability to speak the orc language, along with other traits. Feeling generous, he suggests sharing some meat with the others in the cave, realizing the importance of unity after the recent attack. Initially hesitant, the other goblins eventually accept the offer, thanking Goburou for his kindness. Reflecting on his changed behavior, Goburou realizes that his perspective on helping others has evolved since his previous life. That night, as he sleeps, the system notifies him that he has fulfilled special conditions and offers him the chance to evolve into a hobgoblin, which he eagerly accepts. Awakening on the 14th morning, Goburou notices his increased size and appearance resembling his previous form. Goburou also notices his transformation, and Goburou praises their enhanced appearance. They are surprised by their rapid progress, achieving a rank up in less than a month since their birth, an unprecedented feat. Goburou wants to gauge his newfound strength, so he proposes a sparring match with Goburou. They venture to a secluded part of the forest where they engage in a fierce brawl. Despite Goburou's impressive power, Goburou, the Goblin Chad, emerges victorious. Their duel is interrupted when Goburou senses impending danger. Aware that Goburou was observing them, Goburou calls her forth and instructs her to wield the crossbow they crafted earlier. Meanwhile, a pack of wolves begins hunting horned rabbits, driving them into goblin territory. After feasting on the rabbits, the wolves spot an orc and target him as their next prey. The trio, observing from a distance, sees an opportunity to test their evolved strength against the wolves. Goburou signals Goburou to initiate the attack by targeting the wolf pack's leader with a well-aimed shot from her crossbow. As chaos erupts, Goburou and Goburou engage the wolves head-on, swiftly overpowering them. The absence of their leader leaves the black wolves disorganized and vulnerable. Despite a fierce struggle, Goburou and Goburou emerge victorious, standing triumphantly over the defeated wolves. Although the wolf leader attempts to rise again, Goburou delivers the final blow, ensuring their victory. Goburou wastes no time sinking his teeth into the meat, immediately gaining new abilities: Wild Hunt, Hides Armor, and Order. These skills grant him military leadership prowess. Together with Goburou and Goburou, they present their impressive catch to the rest of the goblin horde, who are duly impressed. Goburou, however, seeks no gratitude. He merely expects them to match their hunting efforts. Some of the horde members express concern about meeting such a high quota. Worried, they plead with Goburou not to punish them. Recognizing their lack of combat skills, Goburou decides to teach them how to defend themselves and even offers to instruct them in weapon crafting. Encouraging them to stand up as comrades, Goburou earns their admiration and loyalty. They hail him as a good leader, chanting his name in unison. Whether it's due to the order ability he acquired or some other influence, Goburou feels a sense of clarity about his path forward to grow stronger, lead his comrades, and achieve his goals. With a sly grin, he contemplates his secret plans. By the 17th day, progress is evident, but there's still much to learn. Returning to the cave, Goburou is pleased to find that Goburou has also evolved into a hobgoblin. She flashes him a cute smile. On the 17th day, Old Man Goburou is awakened from his sleep and given the sad news of the death of all the human female captives. Goburou explains that they died by their own hands after drinking a potion that caused them to fall into an eternal sleep. The two goblins give the humans a respectful memorial. After a few days, Gob is criticized for lagging behind during a training session by the leader of her generation. While they run, Goburou reflects on how he gained abilities by consuming many monsters. However, they notice a group of unfamiliar people carrying weapons approaching in the distance. Goburou prepares his swords and moves towards them, but Goburou stops him to inform that the approaching group are actually raiders targeting their settlement. Goburou's generation. The raiders return with a successful raid, pleasing Old Man Goburou, who begins to commend their leader, Hopkin. The raiders not only bring back goods but also 5 human females. The elderly goblin becomes excited at their lively appearance, commenting on how convenient it is that they have arrived to replace the deceased captives. It's known that goblin DNA is dominant, so regardless of the species they mate with, the offspring will always be goblins. Although Goburou understands the desire to reproduce, he disagrees with the methods they use, and his disapproval is evident on his face. He approaches the leader with a stern expression and asks if he can take charge of the humans. However, the alpha male is offended by this question and grabs Goburou in a confrontational manner. This interaction creates tension in the camp, leading both the old and new generations to draw their weapons, preparing for conflict. Old Man Goburou finds himself in the middle, feeling confused as he witnesses the unfolding situation. Two female goblins intervene to defuse the situation and prevent a civil war. Since Goburou is unfamiliar with them, he inquires about their identities. The old man introduces the one with purple hair as Hubsato, and the other as Hobbs the mage. Hubsato suggests that the leaders from each generation engage in a duel to settle the matter. The winner will have the authority to make decisions for the village. Both parties agree to the terms, and as they prepare for the fight, Hobkin agrees to the duel without weapons, aiming to teach young Goburou a lesson. The scene abruptly shifts to Hobkin, who is bound and battered, resembling someone who has endured a brutal fight. Old man Gobji is astonished by the young goblin's skill, surprised that he had been concealing such power all along. Since the webs he used to immobilize his opponent were generated from his own body, he is declared the winner. This skill was acquired from the demon spider, not Spider-Man, to clarify. Even the two female goblins from the previous generation are impressed by Goburou's abilities. The new leader addresses the old generation, inquiring if they have any objections to him assuming the role of chief. However, given their former leader's decisive defeat, they have no option but to acquiesce. Later, the new chief converses with the human captives, assuring them that he has instructed others not to harm them. He expresses his intentions to treat them well and promises to ensure their safe return to their villages. One of the captives asks what they need to do in return for this, to which he replies that he simply seeks their human knowledge. He learns that the females were part of a business travel group ambushed by the older goblins, resulting in the men being killed and the women captured. After hearing their story, the women begin to cry, but Goburou doesn't want to involve himself in their tears and leaves them to it. The next day, he brings them breakfast, and the red-headed woman greets him with a smile. The women seem happier since the chief assured their safety, so they enjoy the food he prepared. They each have specific roles. The girl with short hair is both an appraiser and a smith. The two blonde sisters are cooks, the girl with glasses is a chemist, and the red-headed woman is a rookie warrior. Despite her current lack of strength, Goburou plans to train her. During the next day's training session, some of the older goblins try to challenge the new leader, so he asserts his authority by disciplining them. Goburou decides to prioritize training over hunting for now and wants everyone to adhere to the rules he's established. Remarkably, he accomplishes all this within 28 days. By day 31, Goburou sets a good example for the group by sparring with Gobkichi. The onlookers are amazed by their intensity, while Hobkin sulks in a corner. Later that night, while the chief sleeps, Hobkin and a few others sneak into the area where the human females are held. Before they can carry out their intentions, Goburou appears and confronts them, subduing them with his fists and sword. The women wake up to find Goburou has captured the intruders. He knocks out Hobkin and apologizes to the females for frightening them. The villagers gather as Goburou orders Gobkichi to drag the criminals outside. He instructs him to wake the others and bring them to witness the punishment he's about to administer as an example. In the rain, the clan watches as Goburou disciplines those who refuse to listen to him. Hobkin received the harshest punishment since he was the leader and the former boss. Goburou turns to the people and asks if they now understand the village rules. They all nod fearfully, clearly grasping the message. With that, the leader dismisses them. By the following day, Hobkin, who received the worst punishment, had passed away. Later, a few of them go hunting and encounter a trihorn horse, which proves challenging to take down. Despite the difficulty, they succeed and enjoy the horse meat. Consuming the flesh triggers a change in Goburou's system, granting him new abilities. He tests one of them, the triple thrust skill, on a nearby tree and is impressed by the result. This skill triples the impact of a single strike for extra damage. The next day, Gob has evolved into a hobgoblin, and she is pleased with the transformation. Meanwhile, Gobkichi has been appointed captain of the armored fighters. Gobmi leads the ranged unit, and Hubsato oversees the mobility-oriented lightly armored force. Gobai manages rear support, handling various tasks. Hobsea, the village soul mage, leads the magic force, serving as a one-woman army. With things going well, the chief decides to venture deeper into the woods to hunt prey not typically found in their region. He encounters a trihorn horse and uses a special magic attack to swiftly eliminate it, sparking his excitement to journey further north into the wilderness. A trail of blood reminds him of a warning from Old Man Gobji during his childhood. He cautioned the children never to approach or enter the northern woods because of the monstrous creature known as the Red Bear. Despite the warning, Goburou faces the creature head-on, choosing to confront it rather than flee. In another part of the village, the residents grow concerned as their leader has not returned. Gob asks around if anyone has seen him, but they all claim ignorance about his whereabouts. Meanwhile, in the forest, Goburou summons the magic spear he used earlier and hurls it at the bear. The bear sacrifices one of its hands to avoid the fatal blow, impressing Goburou with its instinct. The battle commences, and Goburou holds his own against the formidable opponent. He dodges numerous attacks and retaliates with his weapon. However, the bear's tough body proves challenging to penetrate. Goburou tries to ensnare it with his webs, but the bear breaks free and unleashes flames from its mouth. Despite the unexpected fire-breathing ability, Goburou manages to evade, sustaining some injuries. He quickly heals himself and resumes his offensive. This time, he surrounds himself with water to counteract the intense flames, creating an opportunity to thrust his weapon into the bear's mouth. For a moment, victory seems within reach, but the bear hurls him across the field. Despite the looming threat of defeat, Goburou refuses to yield, driven by his determination to defeat and consume the bear. With sheer willpower, he launches a final assault, ultimately vanquishing the creature. Although he sustains significant injuries in the process, he achieves his objective of defeating and consuming the bear. After consuming some of the meat, Goburou gains more abilities, but his injuries cause him to collapse. In a moment reminiscent of a solo level up in a game, the system notifies him that he has surpassed the level limits and offers him the chance to evolve into a rare ogre species, which he accepts. Upon awakening, he notices a change in his appearance and realizes he has transformed into an ogre. Upon returning to the village, the villagers mistake him for an attacking ogre due to his unfamiliar appearance. Despite his attempts to explain, he struggles to communicate with them. Goblin arrives at the scene and recognizes him as Goburou, surprising everyone. Despite her frustration at his prolonged absence, she inadvertently hurts herself when she tries to kick him. Once the misunderstanding is cleared up, the villagers are excited and impressed by Goburou's transformation into an ogre. Sometime later, everyone is still amazed by Goburou's evolution, noticing how much bigger and stronger he appears. Goburou heads to check on the human women, but he's closely followed by Goblin and the redhead for some reason. As expected, the humans are terrified of him initially, but he manages to calm them down by reassuring them it's him. Goblin, however, seems upset about something as she pinches his leg. The blacksmith is disappointed to see her axe, which she made for him, wrecked. But she reveals she's made her knife using a special spirit stone. Goburou praises her, but finds the other girls pinching him even harder. The twins need help with their cooking duty, so Goburou explains he'll assign a few goblins to assist them. He's impressed that they've adapted to being around goblins so quickly, remarking they would make great wives. He jokingly wonders if they want to be his wives, and they playfully call him a sly dog. Goburou is pleased by their smiles, but once again, the redhead and Goblin seem more upset. Goburou then discovers that the alchemist has made poison. Initially, it was for self-defense, but now that there is a gob she can trust like Goburou, she has no use for it. Goburou picks her up and admires her smile as well, but he can instantly feel the murderous intent coming from the other girls. Having spent all his time cheering up the girls, Goburou now feels exhausted in spirit. On day 36, Goburou realizes he can no longer train with the others. He has become so powerful that even his lightest punches leave regular goblins in critical condition. Even Gabukichi's armor couldn't withstand them. As Goburou heals a nearly dead goblin, he wonders what's wrong with Gabukichi. Gabukichi says it's nothing as he goes to hunt, but Goburou can tell that something's amiss. Besides that, Goburou has started to notice that Hapsado and Gabumi have begun hunting together. The red-headed woman is training alone, and Gabai continues her hobby of mining for spirit stones. As for Goburou, we see that he can still use his missing arm like it's made of slime, thanks to the fact that he once consumed a slime. Goburou wonders if Gabukichi will be okay, but Haps points out that it depends on how much effort Gabukichi puts in. The two argue as Goburou wishes Haps would give him back his book, and he reflects on how he was finally able to have a relaxing day. On day 37, Gabai panics as she finds a little creature in really bad shape. Goburou does his best to heal her, but she's losing too much blood, so he decides that he will have to get some blood-producing medicine from the alchemist. Luckily it works, so they introduce themselves to the creature, whom they call a carbuncle. The carbuncle introduces herself as Latana, and reveals that she was attacked by humans. The gem on her head is a high-class material, so its price is said to be as high as 1 billion gold. Latana asks that they lend her their power, and begs them to get rid of the humans that attacked her. Goburou is familiar with the history of the carbuncles. Their master, named Velvet, was a famous legendary magician, and he created them to watch over his secret treasure den. Latana explains that when she was attacked, her core was broken, shortening her lifespan. In the secret treasure room lie legendary class items that Velvet collected throughout his entire life. Latana reveals that her master hates humans. He would prefer that the goblins take all the treasure rather than the human adventurers. They can have everything, so Goburou declares that they will go. The blacksmith girl gives him his new dagger, but he reassures the frightened girls not to worry, as he won't blatantly harm the humans. His job is simply to get them to leave. but he warns that he might have to use force if they don't listen. They then proceed through the whole Gabai made, as it leads to the treasure room. Goburou decides to try to persuade the humans to leave, so he instructs the others to hide. He encounters the adventurers who are searching for the treasure room, but they mistake him for just another monster to defeat. They attack him, but are quickly surprised when he detects the presence of their invisible assassin. Goburou explains to them that this is someone's house, and what they are doing is robbery and murder. It's evident that they feel no guilt, so Goburou concludes that they are beyond redemption. The ignorant humans are shocked that an ogre can speak English so well, and Goburou mentions that fortunately for them, he also has a good heart. They refuse to listen and attack him instead, but Goburou effortlessly dodges their attacks and once again urges them to leave. When they still refuse, Goburou assesses the situation. The humans have 3 mages in their back line wielding a lot of high-class magic items. Unfortunately for them, Goburou observes that they rely too heavily on level enhancement to boost their fighting prowess. However, their lackluster fighting technique renders this ineffective, and Goburou easily overwhelms them. Suddenly, one mage rejoices, believing he has decapitated Goburou with his spell. Their shock is palpable when it becomes evident that the attack only infuriated Goburou. Though he has spared them until now, Gaburou's patience has worn thin. The humans tremble as they realize their level 3 magic spell was futile. Goburou declares an end to his leniency. Signaling the others to attack, they spring into action. Drawing his blade, Goburou admonishes the humans for not seizing the chance to leave earlier. Later, Goburou reveals that they dispatched the adventurers and consumed them, acquiring their traits, including those of an assassin, high wizard, and enchanter. But that's not all. Among the adventurers were high-level individuals with valuable loot, including a rare ring and an item storage bag filled with items, which Goburou devours as well. Among these is a cheat item box capable of holding an incredible number of items. They then proceed to the treasure room, where Latana expresses her gratitude. She explains that her master, Velvet, excelled with spirits, hence the abundance of spirit stones in the area. Wishing Goburou good health, she bids farewell and disappears. Touched by the moment, Goburou consumes the gem she left behind. Gab Kichai checks on Gabai, who reassures him she's fine. They share a moment of silence for Latana, after which Goburou decides they'll distribute the treasure among themselves. He's impressed by his item box's capacity, even after storing all the loot. Not wanting to leave Velvet's body behind, Goburou cremates it, revealing a gauntlet in the process. Upon trying it on, Goburou is astonished when it attaches itself to him, becoming his new arm. The others are equally amazed, and Goburou demonstrates its capability, finding it as functional as his original arm. Deciding to celebrate their successful mission, Goburou hosts a party. On day 38, he evaluates the loot with the blacksmith, discovering its remarkable rarity and power. The next day, Goburou equips the hobgoblins in their group with magical items. As for himself, Goburou selects the Vermilion Spear and 2 other legendary class artifacts, bringing his total to 3. Legendary class items rank just below Phantasm class, with the potential to grant immense power. Later, they gather ingredients for bear soup, and Goburou is pleased to witness everyone's growing strength. On day 40, Garbo organizes a tournament to select the hobgoblin leader, excluding himself, and establishes a mercenary group. The following day, Garbo sets out to encounter unfamiliar monsters. His first discovery is a golden spider, which drops valuable-looking items upon defeat. Consuming them enables him to create gold string, potentially for crafting accessories. Next, he encounters some red deer, but consuming one yields no new traits. Further exploration leads him to a grand tree, where he learns about dryads from Gobji. Dryads are exclusively female, and allure males from other intelligent species for sustenance. They are irresistibly beautiful, leading men to succumb to their charms. Goburou shares this information because he encounters one of these dryads, who admires his muscular physique and expresses a desire to converse. Goburou struggles against the allure of the dryad's charm, knowing that if he succumbs, she will use him for sustenance. He must remain vigilant and not let his guard down at any cost. Determined to resist, Goburou decides to utilize a new ability he has never used before, known as libido. After a strenuous 5 hours of consuming the dryad, Goburou acquires a trait called Dryad's Blessing. Despite still being alive, the dryad urges Goburou to return soon, but he casually brushes off her request, saying he'll consider it. Later, Goburou takes a bath in the lake and is suddenly surrounded by lizardmen. Asserting his invincibility for the day, Goburou effortlessly dispatches them and even defeats another monster. On day 42, Goburou discovers that 2 goblins possess a talent for magic. They are promptly integrated into Habs's platoon. However, Goburou is unsettled by Habs's cunning grin, which raises concerns for him. This brings an end to our episode 3. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.